Bună ziua tuturor! În primul rând, aș dori să vorbesc în limba romană, să vă spun două cuvinte. Pentru că am auzit foarte mult astăzi de diferite panel de soluții energetice, tehnice, de digitalizare și mai departe. Fiind în profesia mea, ce puțin de timp avocat, cred că cel mai mare eficiența trebuie să fie și juridică. Adică eficiența energetică, dar și eficiența juridică. Noi, ca Camera Comerțului, avem făcut foarte mult propunere în sensul ăsta de eficientare proces legislativ în sectorul energetic. Ne-am discutat foarte mult cu Energynomics. E vreau să mă întorc la ultima întrebare pe care l-a făcut Gabi, când a cerut cum poate o companie privată să dau niște contribuții la dezvoltare, proces de digitalizare, no? Considerând anumite aree și sectori în care partea publică nu a făcut foarte mult sau a făcut foarte puțin. Din partea noastră, soluția era, adică o lege clară, simplă și modelul italian, ca Camera Comerțului, putem spune că este cel mai bine model în Europa de parteneriat public-privat. Pentru că problema de digitalizare și de eficiență energetică, din punct de vedere nostru, nu sunt banii. Banii sunt din Uniunea Europeană, din fonduri statale. Problema este cum să facem în termen de timing și de know-how, să aducem know-how privat pentru dezvoltarea proiectul ăsta. Proiect în materie de digitalizare și eficiență energetică. Pentru asta zic că eficiența juridică este al trei, no? Energetică, digitalizare și juridică, este al trei aspect foarte important pe care trebuie să le discutăm. Dar închidem asta și switchăm în limba engleză. Today we will have a very interesting panel which will touch several aspects of the energy efficiency and digitalization process. And we have next to us a very good friend of the Italian Chamber of Commerce. So we have Cristian Gheorghe from Prysmian. I will let you introduce yourself on your own, so that we will share your presentation after. Then we have Amrit Bhullar from VARD, Fincantieri Group. We have Vicențiu Ciobanu from CEO of Prime Batteries Technologies. And then we have Antonio Colangelo and Massimo Ceccariglia. I will let you introduce yourself on your own because I don't want to spend too much words on the profile, business profile, most of the substance of your speech. Please, Cristian.
Thank you very much, Pascale, and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this panel. I feel a little bit different because I am from the telecom world, and here we are speaking about energy, we are speaking about efficiency. My name is Cristian Gheorghe. I am the business development in a company which is built in Italy. So we are an Italian company mainly from the roots. Prysmian is the world leader of cable systems. And I'm located in Slatina, where we have the biggest factory of Prysmian of telecom cables and energy cables. Thank you.
Just introduce yourself.
Hello. Maybe I should put it very close if you can hear me now. My name is Amrit Bhullar. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Development and Group Innovation in VARD. And I'm also very pleased to be here. We are a shipbuilder, very specialized vessels. So also feeling a little bit on the, a different viewpoint to offer you from the energy transition and the digitalization activities from the shipping industry. So I will be talking to you about that.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to discuss in the panel. My name is Vicențiu Ciobanu. I represent Prime Batteries, a company which is focused especially on the energy storage systems. And today I'm going to introduce some insights about the digitalization as we see it and the energy cloud platform.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Antonio Colangelo and the representative of the Geocart group. and I know that I can finish after in the Italian languages, and thank you very much for it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Massimo Ceccariglia. I'm Director of Grid&Regulation from METLEN Group, a Greek company. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And I think it will be a very nice discussion that we are going to have together with Pasquale. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, so after this introduction, I would like to start with Cristian Gheorghe from Prysmian. Because you all know Prysmian as a leader in the production of energy and telecom cables. But besides this, Prysmian has recently developed a very interesting project for the digitalization of the rural areas in the Județ of Cluj-Napoca, involving both private operators and municipalities. So I would like to ask you, Cristian, how can public and private cooperate in this sector, and that was also your experience in this digitalization project, which is a European Commission, a target project, very important. So,
yeah, thank you, Pascal. Thank you, Pascal. Again, is this the one which is shared? Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, you see, I tried to find a picture which could represent better our project done in Cluj. When 2.5 years ago, I met Pasquale and I said, Pasquale, look, from the legal point of view, we like to try something which is really innovative. We didn't see in all the Prysmian worldwide or in the news or anywhere else, a project like this. What do you think about the laws in Romania? Are these laws are clear in terms of public-private cooperation, local administrations? Are they empowered or encouraged to invest and to build an infrastructure? I think, Pasquale, you told me, yes, there is a law, but it's not exactly clear. So we are still debating.
I wasn't so polite, but...
You was polite. So we are trying to evolve. So then, yeah, we started to think there is for sure it's a business opportunity. I'm doing business, so when we start a business, we are looking 3-5 years strategic action. So the business is coming first from the lack of coverage for internet in the rural area. Rural area of Romania, rural area of Europe, 11% of Europe is not connected to the internet. 50% of the worldwide is not connected to internet, and 30% of rural Romania lacks of high-speed internet. And that's an opportunity because there are a lot of discussions about digital divide, about how the rurals and rurals can close the gap, and that's the reason you have this BIS, because here we are trying to imagine how we can close the gap between rural and cities. Which are the limitations? Practically, you know, all of you, that the telecom utilities, the technical solutions which today are applied for these remote rural areas, which are ADSL, satellites, or GSM, they cannot cover geographically, but also in terms of bandwidth and in terms of latency. So this is practically a barrier. On top of the barriers, which are the barriers of cost. In order to connect a small village, you need to pay a lot of money, because there is the cable which need to make the transport of the data to the village. And then probably, which is the essence of the project, is awareness, because we are speaking here about communities. And this is the innovation of the project. We was thinking, okay, if you go, like they are doing now worldwide, in Europe mainly, the world, you have the administration which team up with the infrastructure owner and the content owner. So you have a telecom operator plus an infrastructure owner, and these guys are coming and they are building a network for a certain municipality or association of municipality using the European money or the local funds. That's easy. The only problem here is the local community, because it's like you have a kid. He is always playing in the yard, so he's playing with the other kids. And they are poor, and then suddenly you realize that they are poor and they don't have a future. And you as a father, here in this small story, I don't know if it's the best, but in this story is the government is deciding, look, I want to make these guys to understand. So they are bringing them computers, they are bringing them, while the kids, they like to play in the yard, so they like the nature, they like everything. They don't understand the computers. Now the kids are understanding the computer, but it's just an example. So this is what's happening. So there are money which are coming from top down, and this is coming to a community from the mayor to the people there, the people which are living in the community. They don't understand. And that's RONET 1, that's the RONET 2 example. RONET 1 or RONET 2, if you don't know, are projects which are state-funded and which are connected to remote communities. From my poor knowledge, probably there is no local remote village which was connected up to now. I mean, not connected, but they benefit from the internet. So we started bottom up. We went to the mayor and we found partners. And these partners are from Cluj. We have the Babeș-Bolyai University, I mean, Edu Cluster is called, with the universities. We have the Cluj municipalities, and then from here we sit down around the table and said, how can we approach this small village and offer them a technical solution? I mean, we gave them a network fully equipped, easy to install, which is plug and play, and we put a connection point outside, which is a multi-operator, and then we asked practically the operators to connect. Looks simple, but the first thing which I discussed with the mayor, what he saw, he said, Mr. Gheorghe, finally I will have cameras in some places in the village. And that was the digital competence he had at that moment. Then we was discussing, we started to build a 3-year plan. We started to discuss about connecting areas of the village, which is a very nice located village, in order to increase the price of the land, in order to attract the young people, in order to bring small businesses or even to create a small business inside. We have, once again, the support of this metropolitan zone of Cluj, of universities. They made studies and they understood which are the needs of this specific place. And then now we have a community which is, as we call, digital transform. I am digital transform. I started with this project. Technically, I said, if I give these guys a network, plug and play, they will understand what to do. It was definitely not. There was purely no digital competence in that place. There was not even thinking about the 3 years, with the 3 years view. They were thinking with the immediate benefits, if possible, and eventually to the elections, which was in a few years. but we had the community. So speaking with the community, trying to bring the kids back home in the weekends, but also trying to sell their lands with a higher price, but also trying to create a small business. That was the power. So it's innovative. It's difficult. You are not selling fast because you are selling to a very small number of people. There is no return on investment in the limited number of years, in 1-2 years, like the telecom operators are thinking. On the other hand, it's a project which is transforming the actual community. So this, I tried to make also a small link in my last slide with the benefits. So we identify in that strategic plan of this small village 7 pillars: transport, administration, digitalization. One of these are the green energy in the rural areas. So the possibility to apply to build smart meters. But I am in love with this remote monitoring, but of course microgrids. So imagine a village in Alba or wherever remote location which has their own off-grid or on-grid microgrid, and also the internet, on the high-speed internet, that could be a boost in the development of the level of living of that population. But more than this, if it's built by themselves, having in mind the plan of medium term or long term, that will really transform the community. It's not working, from my experience, that the money are coming and they are simply putting on the table because the people will definitely use it in the best ways they know in that moment, and they don't know exactly what the digitalization mean for that community. So this is our project. The name of the village is Plaiuri, close to Cluj, 25 kilometers. It's on the European Community Map as a pilot project, and according with last discussion with the European Community Commissar of Regionalization, it looks to be the most innovative project we have in the southeast of Europe regarding digitalization of rural area. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristian. Thank you so much. So this is a project which has been done and is a concrete signal of what can be done in the sector of digitalization when the private and public sector cooperates together. And now it's not casual that the next speech will be done by Amrit Bhullar. Why? Because probably both companies cooperated together in the construction of a vessel for cables, for submarine cables, so Prysmian and VARD, and that has also interested the Romanian yards of the company. But I will leave the floor to Amrit, please.
Thank you. I will just go through who we are in VARD before I get into the discussion about what the energy transition and digitalization looks like in the maritime industry, the shipping industry. But if this works, there we are. We are an international team of around 8,000 people today. Like you mentioned, we have 7 shipyards. 2 of them are sitting here in Romania, in Tulsa and Brăila. We have 3 yards in Norway, 1 in Vietnam and 1 in Brazil. And we have a very strong track record of delivering what we refer to as tools at sea for the energy, seafood and security segments. We are headquartered in Ålesund in Norway. You really should come and visit us. It's a beautiful place. And we have a 35 vessel order book currently, which includes, like you mentioned, cable layers, but also vessels that we are delivering to support the offshore wind market. And of course, we are a part of the large Fincantieri shipbuilding group, which is based in or headquartered in Trieste. We are the offshore, the energy expert, the arm that does the specialized vessels there. You'll see a little bit about what our yards look like. I wanted to share this with you because it's important to recognize that we're delivering industrial assets and we have a long-term perspective on investment in order to remain competitive and retain that competency around where we build our vessels. So we're committed to investing in the development of new technologies and together with Fincantieri to retaining a platform in Europe for the industry to test, deploy and develop new technologies that enable sustainable business at sea. Shipbuilding is one of the few remaining heavy industries in Europe today. So the more high-tech solutions we are delivering to the market in our vessels, the more important it is to retain the design, engineering and production teams that they are successful in integrating those complex technologies into these heavy industrial assets. So together with the support of the Fincantieri Group, we have the capability to invest, to deliver the local positive impact we have in the communities that contribute to our shipyards. And in 2021, we set a vision to lead the green and technology transition of maritime operations. And from VARD today, we're delivering some of the most innovative ships to the market. We've secured a customer base that is made up not just of Norwegian, but of course international customers, because we are so focused on enabling sustainable business at sea. Our success is built on trust, so we're not just a shipbuilder. We control the technologies that are key for our customers in-house. So the electrical solutions, the interior solutions, the topside equipment are developed and delivered in-house from our subsidiaries, VARD Electro, VARD Interiors and Onyx. And this is because it enables us to create a more reliable ship when we deliver that. So this is who we are. We're an integrated value chain where our vessels are designed, engineered, kitted with electrical, interior and topside technologies, but most importantly of all built and delivered in-house. We have to remember that ships, after all, are not built on teams, they're built at shipyards. So when we talk about what the industry is doing today, and what we are doing to support our customers, we're really, I think, at the forefront of innovation. And that is led by our customers' curiosity and their need to retain a competitive advantage. No one's going to put technology on the vessel unless it gives them a financial return, and I think that's been said a lot today. So one key area that we've been exploring with our customers is the journey to zero-emission fuel solutions. When we design, engineer, and integrate the entire vessel, we also include alternative fuel technologies. And those choices that our customers are making have to be evaluated right at the start of the process through simulation and design optimization processes. All ships that VARD is delivering to the offshore wind market today have battery hybrid energy solutions on board. But we're also engineering ships that are powered by hydrogen, methanol, and ammonia. And we have several ships under construction that are at present approved for use of methanol and ammonia when the technology is ready. So all these fuels, they have different aspects that mandates a completely different approach when it comes to design, safety, technology and use. So for example, on an ammonia-ready ship, that ship must include stricter safety considerations on the fuel storage and the fuel preparation systems. That's quite different from the normal marine diesel oil systems. And there are regulations in place for these systems in our industry, but everything needs to be at this stage looked at on a case-by-case analysis so that we can ensure, for example, the ventilation funnels are designed correctly and located in the right places on the ship. Most of the ships that we're building today are prepared for a sustainable fuel option, and we're ready to integrate these systems into the ships that we build for our customers, even if some of these technologies are today somewhat immature. But the biggest barrier for adoption today, however, is the investment for the technology, as well as the price, the higher prices that we face today on the different fuels, and the significant uncertainty on how those prices will develop for the future. So when you look at our customers, they're going to their boardrooms, which are mainly full of people from investment funds. That's how they're owned today. They're reluctant to approve these large investments unless there is a significant financial return. Furthermore, the availability of some of these fuels, for example, methanol, is either low or non-existent, and the infrastructure for the availability at the port side is limited. So in our industry, we've never really faced the introduction of new technologies at this scale where they don't add a direct advantage to the vessel cost, the efficiency, the speed, the reliability, or safety. So it's difficult to see that the market alone is able to drive the maritime green transition. We do see gradually stricter regulation and emission taxes will help, but these are too slow. Single national authorities are not strong enough and will not be able to move independently. So we are relying very much on the EU to take a position here. And I raised a question earlier about nuclear, and the reason why is because from where we sit, it's an energy source which is sustainable, available, and reliable today. And we are in VARD today investigating nuclear power as an alternative source of energy to power vessels. We expect the nuclear power to become an important energy source on board large ships that are sailing in the merchant fleet across the world's oceans, but also on specialized vessels that are needing a lot of power, for example, cable laying vessels and large construction vessels to the offshore wind market. The production of alternative fuels, methanol, ammonia, hydrogen, is very energy intensive. So in addition to wind power, nuclear can be a vital energy source in the production of these fuels. It emits virtually no GHG emissions, and it requires by far the least land area and materials of all energy sources. So from a sustainability perspective, this is hugely important. And the risks associated with nuclear power are smaller than previously and can be managed in a similar way to how we handle risks associated with hydrogen and ammonia. This is a journey that we're going on. So in the meantime, we're constantly deploying technologies. I just want to know how much time I have. Because I've got a lot of detail. I've got time?
To be efficient, 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Let me tell you that we are involved whilst we're waiting for these technologies and the solutions for the alternative fuels to be put in place. We're focused very much on creating more efficient use of the energy systems on board the vessel. So we're deploying a lot of technologies out there. And I want to take the latest Prysmian vessel that is under construction as an example. We call it hull number or yard number 970 because it's a VARD-owned vessel currently until it's delivered. But this vessel, today it incorporates biofuel tanks. So that will offer the vessel up to 80% reduction in CO2 emissions. And the vessel is designed and will integrate a high voltage shore connection so that it can reduce its emissions when loading cable from the cable factory. And you can imagine this kind of vessel being at portside doing that for up to 25% of its total operation. And finally, the operation to load the cables is designed in a versatile way. So it enables bundling of several types of cables in one operation. The versatility, together with the carrying capacity and the speed of the vessel, can enable fewer trips to port and therefore reduce energy consumption and emissions. This is just one example. We do this for every customer today. And we have a lot of technologies, digital, electrical, but the most important thing is to understand how to integrate them so they can be used in the most efficient way. That's what we're doing in VARD today.
Thank you, Amrit. Thank you so much. And it's impressive, you know, the fact, because we have been discussing a lot of technology today, the fact that we are in front of, as the case of Prysmian, but also of the other speakers today, of a European technology, European investments, which, considering the previous speech of Mr. President Roberto Musneci on the dependence from the cheap gas and oil from Russia, make us think a lot about also the independence in terms of technology from Far East, let's say, countries, instead of investing in European technology that could help and support us in the next future. Talking about European technology, I mean, Vicențiu Ciobanu can absolutely represent a best practice, because as CEO of Prime Batteries Technologies, he represents a sector, the one of storage, which we have been talking a lot today. So, Vicențiu, what about your view, and which is your view on the sector, particularly with reference with something we have discussed about, which is probably a lack of legislative framework in terms of adequacy to the new instance of technology in the sector of storage, and the necessity of the financial institution also to respond to this need, which always take times and understanding of new technology process. Please.
Thank you very much for the introduction. First, I would like to make an approach towards Ms. Bhullar. In the presentation, she introduced the ship-to-grid principle, which is quite innovative. I will touch in my presentation as well vehicle-to-grid power, which is quite similar concept, but in a smaller. In terms of digitalization, I think the most common question will be, what does a know manufacturing company about digitalization? Because we are not a service provider, we are not looking into creating networks and so on. But to properly explain this, I would say that in our perception, digitalization, it's a bridge between atoms and bytes. So we are all aware that Prime is dealing with atoms because we are manufacturers and we are producing those batteries. And eventually, if you talk about digitalization, you have to look into the bits, which is basically the software part. And in order to understand our decision to be involved in such a development, I will go back like 10 years ago when we started our business as a battery manufacturer for electric vehicles. It was quite an early stage for Europe to step into the electric vehicles manufacturing, and it was quite a good position for us to be in contact with most of the major automakers in Europe, which eventually they asked us to participate and to be part of the development of those batteries. And we ended up being part of the development of the whole electrical architecture of the vehicle, because we were having most of the knowledge in the main component in the vehicle, the battery. So in those particular projects, all the information related to the power source, which was the charger of the vehicle, the storage area, which was the battery, and then the consumption, which were roughly more than 100 components inside that architecture, they were coordinated by more than 30 computers, which were dealing where the energy to go, into the motor, into the inverters, pumps, and so on. So therefore, we will see that this synergy between the components that we were dealing at that time, and it was called vehicle control unit, it was basically an energy management system. And it's something that you guys are seeing now in my background, just to understand the correlation between what we have done now in terms of energy systems and where we started. Learning how the energy flows inside the vehicle and transform this energy into kinetic movement, so powering those vehicles, it gives us a very important insight, the one that eventually the energy will coordinate most of our processes if it's related to transport, if it's related to powering our factories, manufacturing, and so on. So we consider that it's a no-brainer for us to not be involved in the digitalization, already having this experience in the market. That was one of the reasons. The second reason was, as you probably know, 70% of our employees are engineers. And one of my major jobs in the company is making sure that we are gaining more and more engineers and we are developing more and more technology. In order to do so, I can tell you one of our secrets is you need to keep those brains very busy. So you need to give them very complex projects. Not only producing or manufacturing, but also something which is above that in terms of efficiency. So it was our job to make sure that the projects that we are launching to our colleagues are tricky or difficult enough to keep them busy. Now, when we stepped into energy storage sector, which was back in 2019, we were called to participate in production of batteries for residential areas. And all our customers, they were asking us to give them the good practices, how they can potentially use those batteries, because they were having PV systems and now suddenly somebody was asking to store that energy and use it in the right time. So we gather a lot of knowledge about how a battery will flow the energy through a house and through a charging system to the vehicle that we already learned 5 years ago. So eventually we stepped more into this process and we understand now from generation down to the consumption in the vehicles. In 2020, I was invited to a conference in Romania to discuss about the energy storage system for the large-scale batteries and to emphasize about the need of such a system to be installed in the national TSO grid. And I saw that a lot of people, they were very skeptical about the need of such a system because we were having a lot of hydro plants, nuclear plants, thermal plants, and so on. And we learned that the national grid, it's also a good opportunity to understand a digital system, how it works, and flows the energy towards those homes and those chargers and those vehicles. In order to close the loop of the presentation, what Prime did in the past 5 years is we focused 100% about how we can manage all the information that flows through our batteries from atoms and put this information available for the end user and use this information by the end user to optimize their own energetical energy processes. The final reason why we stepped into digitalization was a technical reason. In the battery manufacturing process, we are using several lithium-ion cells to make a battery pack which is installed into an energy storage system. All those cells, they have a computer inside which is called battery management system, and they measure all parameters which are functional inside. One of the main functions is making sure that the cells, they stay balanced to each other. So making sure they have the same voltage, the same power, the same capacity, and so on. And we are doing that through an active balancing, which is using the energy from the weak cells to power sort of a balancing port. And we were using that energy to power resistors and losing the energy into thermal power. So we start thinking about what if this energy can be used into a computing power instead of using it in resistors. To give you a proper example, in a 100 megawatt hour battery storage, you are using every day around 480 kilowatt hour to balance your batteries. This information is available for the battery producer, not for the end user. So what we've done is we created a battery management system which is self-powered and has computing power as well. Therefore, can gather a lot of information, can process this information and make it available for the user. After finishing all these steps, we started to gather a lot of information about how the customers started to trade the energy or to use it for optimizing processes in the energy flow of the TSO. Therefore, we needed to step in and to help them understand as well what are the capabilities of the batteries. In the previous panel, I learned from one of the speakers that in Romania you need 1.7 cycles per day to make your battery affordable or to make the amortization, something like this. Well, what I would say is that to all the customers that we are having, we try to create a business model and a business environment for the batteries based on the information that we are gathering in the platforms to make as many cycles per day as possible, because we understand the behavior of the energy which is consumed, we understand the behavior of the energy which is produced, and it's our job to explain them how to use it. Therefore, Prime introduced this year in the summertime the platform that you see behind me, which is basically aggregating all the energy production and sources, aggregating the consumption, aggregating the battery storage environment, and gives you the opportunity to make the right decision. How do you like to use that energy, and how would you like to flow that energy from our batteries towards the systems? So, thank you very much for your presentation. I tried to keep it short. I hope it was not too technical, but this is our approach towards digitalization.
Thank you very much, Vicențiu. Thank you very much. You've been very efficient in terms of timing and of clearness. So now we have Massimo Ceccariglia, which is a long friend of the Chamber of Commerce, Italian Chamber of Commerce, and also a great friend of mine, which we have been knowing in another life in the past.
Exactly.
When he was working, we can say, for the primary, because there are now two, the primary TSO, Italian TSO, but now Massimo is director for Grid and Regulation of METLEN Group in the East Europe, has another important mission. So, Massimo, I don't want to tease our friends today regarding the National Plan for Energy and Climate Change's targets. We all know which are the numbers and the figures. And my first question is how you're implementing your investment strategy as a METLEN Group in Romania. If you believe that such targets will be reached within we don't want to go over 2030. So let's speak of 2030. I mean, yesterday, okay? So with reference to yesterday, do you think that this target can be reached, and how digitalization can some way help in reaching those targets?
So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for being here in this very nice panel with those colleagues, outstanding colleagues. So let me speak briefly regarding METLEN, and then I will touch immediately the point that you mentioned. So METLEN is a new name of Mytilineos or Mytilineos or Metka AG, and that is a brand that is very well known all over the world. But you know, due to some corporate restructuring, now we call ourselves METLEN Energy and Metals, because we have two legs: energy and metals. So this is some numbers just to give you some pictures. So we have more or less a turnover of 5.5 billion euros in the last year. We are active in more than 40 countries, and we are almost 6,500 people around the world that working in the energy and metal sector. This is, our presence in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in America. Let's consider that apart from Greece, Romania represents for us the second largest market. Second from the first one is Italy, and the second one is Romania. We are very active in all the other countries of Europe and so on. What we are doing here, how we are supporting the energy transition here in Romania. So I'm glad to share these numbers with our colleagues and so on, because presently now we have a nice pipeline under development with 1.6 gigawatt hours of renewables in place. And when I say in pipeline, it means that all the expenditure regarding the development has been secured and approved. So for us it's a reality. It's not just a number for having some claps or whatever. And out of this, more than 1 gigawatt is already with the ATR accepted and defined. So it means that we have a grid connection for this. And this is very nice, important, it's another important number. Probably most of the people knows us as a very nice EPC contractor, and it is, we are. And a lot of players, national, international players, local players, they recognize us that we are, let's say, reliable, we can work, we respect deadlines and so on. This is why we are here. We are completed and we are constructing more than 800 megawatt of photovoltaics now. So, more or less, the total pipeline that is the one that I mentioned and the one that we have to develop, it's more than 2.4 gigawatts. And we have storages, of course, because we consider that we cannot, let's say, put in the system a certain number of renewables, unpredictable with all the system, all the situation that you can imagine. Pasquale told you that I was in the transmission system operator of Italy, so it was a very challenge for me to discuss with an investor like METLEN that the importance to consider the grid, not just a sort of things that has to be connected your renewables, but it's something that is alive and you have to protect it. Otherwise, you cannot evacuate your power. This is why we are starting to develop BESS and storages in a very, let's say, deep way, thanks to the local guys. And now we are developing more than 350 megawatts of storages here in Romania. Wind energy under development, and also we are some nice initiative regarding green hydrogen. This is more or less our presence that is, more or less in the south. A lot of projects. I don't want to mention each of them, but it's very happy for us to share with you this information. How many people we are? We are 70 people here, for 70 nice professionals that are working every day to push the pipeline that we have here to become a reality. And we are thinking that now we are giving, let's say, work with the indirect and direct employees for the 2026 will be more than 1,000. So, and we have a nice, very nice plan to reach more than 130 people by the 2026. So we are hiring a lot of people, a lot of professionals, and we are looking a lot of these kind of professionals. Here there are some reference points, some reference projects that I would like to share. Oh, sorry, there are some other projects should appear. It's supposed to appear, but in any case, this is Calugareni, is one of the most important that we have. It's more than 130, and here there are other tools. But I mean, those two pictures were supposed to cover the 870 that I was mentioned before. Regarding the topic that you touched, I remember, I cannot escape from this discussion. So let me give you some numbers, if I may. And let's create a sort of comparison also with the situation of Italy, because for us, could be interesting. So I have to take my notes because I write down something. So 2030, here, according to the present situation and according to the documentation that is available, apparently, according to the PNIEC, in 2030, we are going to have predicted, the government is going to predict something like 10 gigawatts of renewables, some in wind and solar. Today, here in Bulgaria, here in Romania, we have almost 3.7 gigawatts installed. It means that we have a run to do that is almost 5.3 gigawatts in order to reach the target. 5 years, 1 gigawatt per year. A lot of investors like us is moving this direction, and so on. But we have to consider also the other the other part of the story, that is the grid. Presently, the grid is, let's say, there is a sum that is a number that I found, in some documentation, that today the requests of connection are more than 20 gigawatts. So it means 4 times the real needs. So it means that at the end of the day, there will be a plenty of renewables plant that are requesting the request of connection. And this likes to ATR with a lot of reinforcements, ATR with a lot of, let's say, action that has to be taken in order to keep the grid safe. And this is something that, from an investment point of view, is killing us, because according to the regulation that we have here in Romania, we have to pay everything. And this is the part of the renewables. But if we are going to touch the part of the flexibility, storages and so on, these are some other very important numbers that probably we should mention. So according to the PNIEC, we should have in 2030 at least 2.5 gigawatts of flexibility available in the market. And which is the split of this? It appears that 1 gigawatt has to be provided by storages, 0.75 gigawatt should be provided by demand response, and some other 0.75, it could be from other sources. Storages, RES, demand resource, they are the key, of course, for the energy transition, and there is no possibility to have all these piece of the puzzles inside together without having digitalization. This is for sure. Because also from the renewables point of view, if you want to, let's say, control, if you want to have, dispatching under 24 hours control of your power plant, you need digitalization, metering, smart metering. You need a lot of data, you have to process a lot of data. If you go, and this is just for the renewables, if you want to go with the storages, if you want just this metering and control system, you have to add prediction, because you have to predict when your battery should charge and when your battery should discharge. And this is another level of digitalization and data calculation. So it's very interesting. Everything is very interesting. I don't want to touch the grid side, but just to give you an example, because my former career was on the grid. We have to think about the digitalization of the grid. How much does it cost presently now in Europe? Is something that is moving before 15% and 30% of the total capex invested in a rejuvenation of the grid, in transmission distribution. This is a common, and you have to think that this is something that is unbelievable, because if you have a grid that is digital with all the necessary sensors that can be used and so on, you will have a grid that could, in any case, evacuate your energy production and your renewables. And this lead to the discussion that we touched, apparently data centers and so on. So a lot of inputs, a lot of information that has to be processed, has to be, used and processed through data centers, calculation, and the calculation capacity has to increase definitely.
Thank you, Massimo. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I remember last time that we had the event in Bucharest, and we had the presence of the Secretary of State, which will come after, and we spoke about the need of implementing the grid in Romania, which is not just a matter of digitalization of the grid. It's a matter of building new grids, first of all, and then to intervene in the grid which are actually functioning with process of digitalization. And talking about the digitalization of the electrical system and the energy system, before we had the speech of Geostud, now we have the speech of Geocart, which insists in the same business, let's say apparently in the same business line. So we could have also an M&A discussion after between you, however, a synergy and a cooperation between both of you. I will switch now in Italian for Antonio Colangelo, which is the founder of Geocart. Antonio, voi avete Geocart dà servizi di ingegneria da oltre 30 anni, no? E in Italia avete lavorato molto nel settore della digitalizzazione delle reti elettriche, lo avete fatto per Terna e per Enel e per tanti operatori del settore. Ora, passando al concreto, no? La nostra domanda è se ci puoi dare qualche numero intanto su Geocart, o comunque presentarci brevemente Geocart e farci vedere magari con un video che cosa ha fatto Geocart come soluzione per la digitalizzazione delle reti energetiche in Italia. I just want to translate. I'm asking Antonio, for the ones that didn't understand, providing services in terms of digitalization in the system of the grid in Italy since 30 years. I asked him what they have done in Italy that could be also a solution which can be provided in Romania, having done those for primary operators like the Italian TSO Terna or Enel Distribution in Italy. Please, Antonio.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Pasquale, and thank you for making me speak in Italian languages. My English is very bad. Grazie mille. Quindi Geocart è una società che fa parte di un gruppo aziendale, una holding che ha al suo interno altre società, tutte società che operano con il minimo comune denominatore che è l'innovazione tecnologica, la digitalizzazione. Fra queste abbiamo una società di telemedicina che è una dei leader in Italia, che porta ai pazienti praticamente la clinica. Abbiamo una società di intrattenimento e media, anche qui di alta tecnologia, con la realtà immersiva, una delle società che di fatti ha digitalizzato e realizzato gli ambienti del Quirinale in Italia, come la parte del Vaticano e una parte anche del Colosseo, ma lavora molto per fare piattaforme tecnologiche digitali con la Formula 1. Loro realizzano simulatori di Formula 1 per la Red Bull, quindi Max Verstappen in qualche maniera utilizza questi simulatori. Ma poi diciamo Geocart è un po' il cuore dell'azienda, del motivo per cui ne stiamo parlando, che ha generato le altre società. Abbiamo anche un gruppo che fa infrastrutture, particolarmente in tutta Italia, di infrastrutture di monitoraggio, e un gruppo di ricerca che è un centro di ricerca per fare prettamente ricerca per poi metterla a disposizione della pubblica amministrazione. Geocart è questa società che ha al proprio bagaglio geografico presente in Europa, con due sedi particolari, una in Spagna, l'altra in Romania, due presidi, una in Polonia, l'altra in Serbia, e ha delle sedi in America Latina, in Brasile in particolare, e in Canada. È una società che ha come clienti principali Terna, Enel, Italfer, Ferrovie, A+ in Spagna, CTBTO. La CTBTO è il sistema della sicurezza delle Nazioni Unite. Noi siamo l'unica società europea che opera con le Nazioni Unite per fornire loro tecnologie e digitalizzazione, metodo di digitalizzazione per il trattato del non proliferazione del nucleare ai fini bellici. Quindi è la capacità innovativa di trasferire questo tipo di tecnologie e metodologie. Sì, noi sviluppiamo tecniche e modelli di digitalizzazione del territorio in genere e, come dire, la nostra specifica attività è legata alle pipeline, quindi diciamo la capacità di interrogare e di intervenire sulle pipeline. A me piace dire che siamo i cacciatori di anomalie. Noi andiamo a caccia di anomalie sulle infrastrutture in genere, e sono quelle delle infrastrutture energetiche innanzitutto, con la capacità di individuare quali che sono le problematiche prima che questi abbiano dei problemi, quindi intervenire in maniera preventiva.
Antonio, just a second. What Antonio is telling us now is that Geocart has developed a model which has invested a lot in the prevention of anomalies among the pipelines at infrastructure level, so both for energy, for civil, railway, and so on. And that's why they developed a model which has 80% we were discussing before of technical problems which are prevented before they happen. That's why the digitalization is very important for their business model. And you have also a video, Antonio, for showing us how you operate.
Sì, giusto prima del video, soltanto per dirvi che la digitalizzazione avviene perché sono multifunzione l'utilizzo di dati da satellite, da elicotteri, da aereo, da droni o da terra. Tutti i sensori che noi mettiamo in campo con le nostre ingegnerizzazioni per poi acquisire dati. La capacità è quella di trasformare i dati in informazione, in applicazioni fruibili per i grandi gruppi, per la pubblica amministrazione. È evidente che i numeri sono numeri importanti, perché la nostra capacità è quella di intervenire nel monitorare 130.000 chilometri l'anno, 1 petabyte ogni anno di gestione dati, significa in realtà 30.000 chilometri quadrati di digitalizzazione, attività che abbiamo svolto in Romania con dei progetti pilota, digitalizzando alcune aree rurali ed alcune aree urbane, proprio delle aree della produzione di energia. Sì, abbiamo un video per il quale possiamo mostrarvi in maniera molto semplice quale può essere la nostra capacità di fare. Vediamo se riusciamo a farlo vedere.
Please, if you can send the video from Geocart. You should have it, Antonio. The first or the second one?
Ecco qua. Dall'acquisizione dei dati, in questo caso un nostro elicottero con a bordo i sensori che noi abbiamo ingegnerizzato e prodotti, che ci consentono di acquisire, come dicevo prima, i dati, che sono dati grezzi, perché i sensori acquisiscono dei dati abbastanza diretti. Questi dati però devono essere poi gestiti, devono essere elaborati al fine di poterli poi trasformare in informazioni facilmente fruibili, ed avere un database, quindi delle piattaforme informatiche che noi sviluppiamo utilizzando oggi ormai l'intelligenza artificiale, che ci dà in maniera diretta e in tempo reale quelli che possono essere le anomalie. Come dicevo prima, andiamo a caccia di anomalie, quindi intervenire su queste e capire quali possono essere eventuali problematiche che possono essere evitate su danni specifici. che ci sono sulle infrastrutture elettriche.
Antonio, just a last remark, just a last question, un'ultima domanda, no? The same technology that you apply to the energy pipelines for the grid, you apply also for the infrastructures like bridge, for example, in case there are problems.
La nostra è di fatti l'individuazione di anomalie sulle infrastrutture in genere. Parlavamo prima di ferrovie, strade, gasdotti, elettrodotti, ma anche sui ponti. In questo momento noi con il PNRR italiano abbiamo noi scritto una parte per il monitoraggio dei ponti, dei viadotti, delle strade, e su questo noi facciamo esattamente questo che vedete adesso, è il controllo dei viadotti con dei sensori particolari che noi strutturiamo, in questo caso sui ponti, sui viadotti, ma anche sulle gallerie, sulle strade in genere, per dire quali che possono essere le problematiche che possiamo evitare e quindi il monitoraggio e la manutenzione.
Okay, thank you so much, Antonio. Very, very interesting. I'm sorry if I've not been able to translate everything, but the common Latin source of Italian and Romanian languages probably has helped the Romanian ones which are here today. Probably Amrit, I will translate for you after specifically. And so we have finished this panel. I don't know if, Gabri, we have some minutes for questions or we have to end it. Okay. Gabriel, which is the head of actually of the steps that we have to follow. So we close the panel and I think we have the lunch break, no?
Yes, the time for lunch, and this is why I keep the agenda.
Okay, now, and I want to make a joke. It's very good to have the lunch after this panel because having you brought a good wine, I would invite everybody after the lunch break to say the word digitalization after the wine, which is quite impossible.
Yes, thank you very much, Pasquale. Very good moderation. If the market dries out in legal business, you have a future in communication for sure.
Thank you so much.